So Terry Jackson, the executive director of the WNBA, released the following statement.
There comes a point when silence becomes betrayal. When the person tasked with protecting the league chooses instead to protect her own image, to play politics with the sport, and to turn a blind eye to injustice, then we have to ask the question, is it time for her to go? Stay until the end of this video because I'm about to show you the most damaging evidence yet that could end Cathy Engelbert's career forever.
More for this than you do if you're the champion. Makes no sense. Someone tell Cathy to help us out.
This isn't just another sports controversy. This is about the complete neglect of the greatest player in WNBA history. Caitlin Clark didn't just step into the WNBA. She completely changed it. She didn't just bring fans, she brought millions. She didn't just boost ratings, she broke them into a million pieces. But instead of being welcomed by the league she single-handedly lifted to national importance, Caitlin Clark found herself repeatedly punished, ignored, dismissed, and in many ways set up to fail by the very people who should have been protecting her. And at the center of it all was Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, the one person with the power to change the course of this league, but who at every critical moment chose to do nothing. Now, with leaked memos going viral online, explosive officiating scandals making headlines, and the trust of the fan base disappearing faster than ever, the conversation is growing louder and more urgent. Could Cathy Engelbert actually be fired? And more importantly, should she be? The turning point came when a leaked internal memo began circulating online. An alleged order from a senior referee supervisor within the WNBA that suggested referees should limit favorable calls for Caitlin Clark, not because of the rules, not because of fairness, but to manage league optics and avoid overexposure. Let's be crystal clear. This wasn't about balance. This wasn't about integrity. This was about controlling the story around the most important player in women's basketball history. And the worst part? Multiple referees came forward to confirm that yes, this happened. Yes, they were told to let things go when it involved Clark, and they actively tried to stop it. And while fans demanded answers, while players began whispering behind the scenes, Cathy Engelbert gave the most generic, empty denial you can imagine, and then refused to address it again. She didn't open an investigation. She didn't reassure Clark. She didn't speak to the fans. She went silent, hoping it would all blow over. It didn't. In fact, it got worse. Much worse. Caitlin Clark had just come off the most exhausting and celebrated college basketball season in history. She carried Iowa to the national championship game, broke scoring records that had stood for decades, and played nearly every minute of every game under the brightest spotlight you can imagine. So what did the WNBA do for its biggest ever rookie? Instead of taking care of their star, they tried to bury her talent under exhaustion and burnout. But that was just the beginning of the nightmare. Throughout last season, Caitlin Clark took some of the most obvious, violent, and reckless contact seen in modern women's basketball. Shoulder checks, hip tosses, eye pokes, cheap shots delivered with full force while cameras rolled. By the end of the season, Clark had taken 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire WNBA, one player absorbing almost a fifth of the league's most dangerous physical hits. And yet, despite how serious this was, despite the obvious targeting, Cathy Engelbert said absolutely nothing. No statements defending player safety, no punishment for repeat offenders, no changes in officiating, just silence. And the message couldn't have been clearer. As long as the drama brought in views, the well-being of the player drawing those views didn't matter. Even as Clark's teammates began to worry for her safety, even as fans begged the league to step in, Engelbert stayed in the background, watching quietly as the player who saved her league got beaten up game after game. But wait, there's more. And this next part will absolutely blow your mind. The biggest insult of all came during the playoffs, the one that made it obvious this league was determined to keep Caitlin Clark out of the spotlight. As the WNBA launched its biggest marketing campaign of the season, with billboards, highlight reels, and nationwide promotion, Caitlin Clark, the player who had driven ratings to historic highs, was completely left out. No posters, no commercials, not even a mention. It was such an obvious mistake that fans couldn't even believe it at first. It felt like a joke, but it wasn't. And when asked why the league left her out, they gave no answer, because they had none. This was a deliberate choice, and Engelbert let it happen. The disrespect continued when Clark was named Rookie of the Year. The league had a golden opportunity to give her the recognition she'd earned. It could have been an in-game ceremony, a league-wide celebration, a moment broadcasted to millions. Instead, they told her over the phone, no cameras, no press, no highlight reel, just a quiet call in the middle of the day, like it didn't matter. It was insulting, and it once again showed just how poorly this league understands how to treat the star that's keeping it alive. I mean, the second she got injured this season, the WNBA's numbers collapsed. Games without Caitlin Clark couldn't even pull half the ratings they had just weeks before. Merchandise sales slowed, social media engagement dropped, the buzz disappeared. It was undeniable. Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA, and when she was gone, the fans were gone too. So what did Cathy Engelbert do with with this information? Nothing. No apology, no correction, no admission of mistakes. Instead, she tried to spin the numbers, saying, "Viewership is still up year over year," as if that mattered more than the league's long-term success. Now here's where things get really interesting. And this is where you need to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because this story is far from over. Recent reports suggest that the pressure on Engelbert is mounting. Sources close to the league office have hinted that board members are growing increasingly frustrated with her handling of the Clark situation. Some insiders are even saying that emergency meetings have been called to discuss the future of the commissioner's position. And it's not just about Clark anymore. It's about the entire direction of the league. The WNBA had its biggest year ever, largely because of one player. And instead of building on that success, instead of protecting and promoting their biggest star, they systematically undermined her at every turn. They turned what should have been a celebration into a controversy. They turned what should have been a breakthrough season into a cautionary tale. And now, as the dust settles and the numbers come in, it's becoming clear that the league may have made the biggest mistake in its history. Because here's the thing, Caitlin Clark isn't just going anywhere. She's going to be the face of women's basketball for the next decade. And if the WNBA wants to survive and thrive during that time, they need leadership that understands how to work with her, not against her. They need someone who values players over politics, who rewards greatness instead of punishing it, who sees Caitlin Clark's rise not as a problem to manage, but as a gift to embrace. The question now is whether the WNBA will make the necessary changes before it's too late. Will they finally give Clark the respect she deserves? Will they fix the officiating problems? Will they address the safety concerns? Will they fire Cathy Engelbert? Or will they continue down this path of self-destruction, watching as their biggest star becomes increasingly frustrated and their fan base becomes increasingly angry? The Sophie Cunningham suspension that followed all of this controversy only made things worse. Here was a player who had consistently defended Clark on the court, who had stood up for her teammate when others wouldn't, and she was punished for it. The message was clear. In Engelbert's WNBA, protecting Caitlin Clark was a punishable offense. And that's when even more people started asking the question that's been building for months. Is it time for Cathy Engelbert to go? Maybe this league needs someone who values players over politics, who rewards greatness instead of punishing it, who sees Caitlin Clark's rise not as a problem to manage, but as a gift to nurture. Because if the WNBA can't figure out how to support the most important player in its history, if it can't protect her, promote her, and lift her up, then what hope does it have? So here's the question we leave with you. And make sure you answer in the comments below. Should Cathy Engelbert be fired? Or is all of this just speculation, fueled by frustration and a love for a game that deserves so much better? What do you think needs to happen for the WNBA to reach its full potential? How should the league handle situations like this in the future? Let us know what you think in the comments. Like this video if you want to see more content like this. Subscribe and turn on all notifications because the Caitlin Clark era is just beginning. And if the WNBA wants to survive it, it needs to decide whose side it's really on, the side of greatness or the side of politics, the side of its fans or the side of its failures, the side of Caitlin Clark or the side of those who want to tear her down. The choice is theirs, but time is running out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.